Hello everyone. Today I will tell you about the horror or disturbing stories experienced by netizens and the contributions from netizens. This happened when I was in the second grade of elementary school. One night my parents had to leave to attend a wake and they left me home alone to house it. They told me that I was in charge of the house. I was to eat dinner, take a shower and go to bed. They said that they would be back after midnight. I had never been alone in the house before. It was strange, but I wanted to enjoy this newfound freedom. So I was watching TV feeling really powerful, as I could choose whatever channel I wanted. We live in the rural countryside of Kyushu. Our neighbors are a couple of minutes away, so nights are usually very calm and quiet. I think it was about 8 or 9 o'clock. I had finished watching a TV show and then the news came on boring. I guess it was time to take a shower and hit the hay. I was contemplating this massive decision while reading a manga comic lying down on my bed. Then I heard a knock at the door. Oh, my parents are back home. Early, I thought. As I went to the door I looked through the frosted glass and I saw a big shadow of a person out there. Now my mom is only 150 centimeters tall, so it couldn't be her. Maybe it's my dad. I assumed. I called out hello. A deep male voice replied, "Hi. Little girl, is your dad home?" My dad was a bit of a drinker and he often hung out with these booze hounds. So I thought this might be one of his powers or something. So I carelessly responded, "No. He's not here. He's at a funeral." There was a short pause. "And what about your mother?" I didn't know what to say. I knew my mom hung out with her friends and they went drinking too. So maybe this guy knew both of them or something. But something deep inside told me not to reply. I felt a bit suspicious. What do I do? I thought that, no matter what I would answer with, I might end up making another mistake or getting into trouble somehow. "Mom's not home either," the voice persisted. This was so strange. We never usually had people coming to the house at this time of night. This wasn't right. There was something about his voice too. It didn't sound like the local accent. This wasn't good. I felt extremely anxious. I couldn't bring myself to say anything in response. "Are you alone in there, little girl?" I began to cry silent tears while standing stuck still and silent. "Can't you open the door for me? I have something I have to give your dad. I'm just here to drop it off," he said in a voice so extremely sickly. The kind of voice you hear when someone is trying to coax someone else into doing something. I mustered up enough strength to reply, "Can you come back tomorrow?" He didn't reply. He just started to violently turn the doorknob. I understood the man's intentions now and it felt like an arrow of ice went through my heart. My throat closed up and I couldn't breathe. I couldn't scream. Then came the sound of his fist punching the frosted glass open. He roared again and again. "Please stop," I pleaded. "It's so loud," I said. Then my brain kicked into gear and I ran into the living room and grabbed the house phone. But I didn't even know the number of the place where my parents were. My parents had told me about people who call the police when they don't really need their help. Hugs, calls. I was nervous, thinking I might get in trouble for doing a hoax call. While I was panicking about what to do, I heard the glass shatter in the hallway. He had breached the front door. A horrible thick arm shot through the hole in the glass. I remember he was wearing a jet black jumper. I screamed for help. I remember thinking this was more like a scene from a movie, not from real life. The arm was groping for the lock. While the arm was desperately probing for the lock, I heard another sound coming from outside. It was somebody shouting my name. Someone shouting that they had called the police. I wandered over to the door and I saw the owner of this new voice. I jumped for joy. It was the voice of the older lady who lived next door. She had heard all the commotion and came to see what was going on. As she shouted that she had called the police, the man ran for it. I let her in. I was inconsolable. I just bawled my eyes out the whole night through. The police arrived about 30 minutes before my parents came back. When my parents did come back, They apologized again and again for leaving me by myself. In the end, we didn't know who the intruder was. My dad just assumed it was a robbery attempt. Just as a side note, this happened when I was in the first or second year of junior high school. I think I was about 13 years old. I grew up in the countryside. Our town is located along the East China Sea, in Kyushu, and there are a lot of suspicious ships around the ports. In addition, my town is famed for many unsolved missing persons cases. The police never found the man, but I often replay that moment in my head over and over, and thanks to that man I have had countless sleepless nights. I don't like to think about what might have happened to me if my neighbor hadn't been there. We became very close with our neighbors after this, and my parents never let me house it again. This happened when I was in my 5th year of elementary school. I had a younger sister who was in the 3rd grade. At the time, we got along really well. We would often play outside, right outside our house. After school, we were playing badminton. That day it was summer and we were amidst the first onslaught of mosquitoes. There were a bunch of them that day, and we weren't wearing any repellent. So we ran to the house to get some Mom. It's me. I'm just running upstairs to grab insect repellent. Okay, I shouted as we ran in the house. Then from the bathroom near the front door I was stood up came a reply, okay. I grabbed the bug spray, then ran back outside to keep playing with my sister, not giving it a second thought. However, about 10 minutes or so passed and I saw Mom pulling into the driveway. It wasn't right. It couldn't be possible. I had just heard my mom call out from the bathroom. I got goosebumps and my sister was freaked out too. How could this be? We both ran over to her and hugged her. We told her all about it, and it must have sounded a bit strange to her, because even at that age I could hardly believe what had happened. My sister backed me up, though she said she had heard what I had heard, which made it a bit more strange and a little creepy. So the downstairs bathroom, which previously had nothing frightening about it, became somewhat scary for my sister. We all went to check the bathroom. Me and my sister were hiding behind our mother as she opened the door. There was no one there. I checked time after time with my sister. I was sure I wasn't imagining it. She confirmed every time that she had heard a voice which sounded just like my mom say, okay. We were frightened of going to the bathroom alone. We used to go together, but then, as time went by, we stopped thinking about it and grew less wary of the bathroom. I think about half a year had passed and my sister and I were home alone waiting for Mom to come home. Watching the house was what we called it. I was watching TV and I noticed that my sister was stood in front of the bathroom. She turned to me with a frightened look on her face. She looked pale. The bathroom door is locked. She whimpered. She got into a panic and went to run, but she smashed her arm on the corner of the wall by the stairs. She started to whine and her eyes became watery. Her bottom lip was trembling. We all know what was about to come next, so I wanted to calm her down and to show her that there was nothing to be scared of. Come on. I'm sure the bathroom door is just stuck or something. Let's go have a look. I said when I turned the door handle, the door wouldn't budge. There was another way to unlock the door with a key from the outside. So we did that and again there was no one inside. We were stood in shock, hearts racing, staring into the empty bathroom when we heard a voice coming from the front door call out, "Hi, I'm back." It was Mom. Perfect timing. We both had to tell her about what had happened. We raced over to the door to welcome her. Mom was nowhere to be seen. We were home alone, with something which sounded like Mom in the house with us. I think we simultaneously realized this and just burst into tears. I remember thinking if it was just only one of us who heard it, we could say to the other, "You're just hearing things," or "I didn't hear it." But no, we had both heard it, loud and clear. We didn't know what to do, so we just left the house and went to a nearby park. We couldn't stay in the house. Thankfully, some of the neighbor kids were there. They didn't believe our story, though we just decided to wait outside until Mom came home. As soon as we saw her car pull up, We ran over and blurted out what had happened. Years later, Mum admitted to us that she had heard voices in the house, found locked doors, etc. She didn't tell us because she didn't want to frighten us. My sister suffered with sleep paralysis in the house regularly. I now think something malevolent was targeting her. Either that or I have a very low level of perception, and it was targeting us both. According to my sister, she could see black spots emanating from the walls in her bouts of sleep paralysis. Nowadays, my sister is married and she doesn't get sleep paralysis anymore. I can still hear that voice, the voice of the mum thing, in my head so clearly. I get the shivers from time to time. This is something that happened to me when I was little. I couldn't tell you how old I was, but this is a true story. I think it was evening. I'd been left at home by myself. This happened often. Was watching TV and I was getting pretty bored with it. I went over to the window and opened it. I can't remember why. I guess I just wanted a change of scenery. Suddenly the window of the apartment next door opened and a girl jumped up onto the windowsill and leaned half of her body out of the window. I remember she looked to be about 2 or 3 years older than me. I hadn't met her before we struck up a conversation. I can't remember what we spoke about completely, but I remember that she said, "Hey, let's play outside." I said that I wasn't allowed to open the door and it was locked, which was the truth. Just jump out the window. Like me. Come on. Hurry up. She said. She jumped. I climbed onto the windowsill and got ready to jump out. I heard a scream coming from behind me and the next thing I knew I was being pulled backwards and I hit the floor with a thud. I looked up and I saw my mum looming over me. I had never seen her look so angry. We lived on the 4th floor, so if I had jumped I wouldn't be walking away with minor injuries. I'm sure I would be dead. As the years passed, I grew up thinking what if Mum was a little late home that night. Incidentally, there were no children living next door. That's what Mum said to me at the time. Anyway, I pleaded with her to go and check because I was adamant. I had seen a young girl jump from next door's window. The old couple next door said that there was no girl next door. They didn't have a child that age or any visiting grandchildren. I was branded a liar by my mum and banned from snacks for a week, although amnesty was achieved on the 3rd day of the ban. Perhaps it was a product of my imagination. Who knows? Maybe I was seeing things, but it seemed so real. Whenever I hear about a child falling from a window to their death on the news, I think about what had happened to me, what I had seen and how close I was to death myself. I think a lot of the newer buildings have fail-safe systems in place where the windows don't open fully. But if your window does open fully, then please keep an eye on the children. Or in my case, if somebody asks you to jump out of the window and come and play with them, don't listen to them. I don't care if I sound like an idiot. It can happen. It happened to me. The doorbell rang whilst I was on the phone with my mum. She was calling from her house and I was in my apartment. Yeah, okay. I'll call you back in just a sec. I just got to see who's at the door here. I said I used the intercom to say hello and greet whoever was out there. I didn't get a response. The doorbell just rang again. What the hell? That's weird. And then I remembered there had been some reports of troublesome incidents. There was a poster in the lobby saying beware of visitors who don't call in advance. I thought that this was a bit over the top, but now I understood the warning. It's a bit of a frightening situation, especially if you're home alone, like me, but there was every chance that this was a delivery person or something. So I responded again via the intercom, yes. Hello, who is it again? There was no response or reply, just eerie silence. Then the doorbell rang again and again and again. What the hell was this? Some neighborhood kids messing with me. Is my doorbell busted or something? I wondered. I had a bad feeling about what I was about to do next, but I went ahead and did it. I opened the door with the chain on and checked outside. I was peering around the corner to see if anyone was back there, just when I thought no one was there. Hyman jumped out, and in front of the door he had short hair, a crew cut. He looked a bit odd. He had a narrow forehead riddled with wrinkles. A slack-jawed expression was on his face. I guess I'd say he was about 40. He was dressed like a schoolboy. He wore a white short-sleeved t-shirt and blue shorts. "You came home?" "Yeah, just as I thought." "Good." "Oh right. Yeah. You live in there alone, don't you?" "Yes, you do." "How is that?" This was really freaky. "I hate these old-style apartments with no security. It's actually quite frightening. You never know who could be at your door." Not deterred with this guy and his weird behavior, I asked, "What is it that you want?" "Oh yeah, yeah. I have the newspaper for you here." He said I'd never seen this newspaper before. What the hell was he? A late-night delivery newspaper boy. The newspaper looked made up like something he made at home himself. "Sorry, I don't need that. I gotta go," I said. "Well, wait. I have a great detergent you're gonna love. Come out here and look at this." "No thanks," I replied. I went to close the door on him, and he wedged his foot in the door and shoved his body against it. He created a gap of about 10 centimeters. This was literally my worst fear, some guy breaking and entering when I'm home alone. Who knows what this man wanted? I then imagined the worst thing possible, and without intending to, I let out the loudest scream. "I don't need anything. Leave me alone. Go away." I screamed as well as pleas for help. I heard another door in the lobby open, a neighbor. I thought they must have heard my screams. "They're coming to the rescue. She said she doesn't want whatever you're selling. I suggest you get the hell away before I call the cops. I hate you salesmen always pushing for the hard sell, harassing this young woman who lives alone. It's disgusting. She was on the phone as well. You ruined that for her too." I saw through the gap. I saw the weird salesman staring angrily at my neighbor. He just laughed and muttered some curse words. He was so gross there was a bit of a scuffle. And then he stopped pushing against my door, and I heard him run for it down the fire escape. I wanted to give my thanks to the neighbor. I was so grateful to him for saving me. But his door was already shut. That was the first time I had ever met my neighbor, and I was really happy he came to help. There was something terribly off-putting, though, the fact that he knew that I lived alone and that I was a single woman, and that I was on the phone when the weird guy tried to break in. I didn't even see my neighbor's face. I have no idea what he looks like, but to me he's just as suspicious as the salesman. I need to move apartments here.